Adam Haertlé, am I close?
Excellent.
Okay, good enough. From badcyber.com is going to talk about what it's like to hear directly from potential victims of an attack. So this is pretty exciting, so I'm looking forward to this.
Hey, thank you. My name is Adam. I'm a journalist. I used to be an IT security officer, but I quit my job when GDPR started because I had enough of this stuff. And now I'm writing articles, mainly in Polish. That's because why you perhaps don't know me. I write on a blog zaufana3strona.pl for the Polish people in the room. And I also put some weekly notes on badcyber.com where I intended to write more in English, but it's too much happening that I don't have time to do it. But I wanted to tell you today about a story that happened to me. And I did not intend for the study to be run, but it was run by somebody else, and I was an accidental recipient of the results. What happened? Most of the things will be happening in Polish, but I will provide you with translations, don't worry. And this is a message that was sent to Polish users more or less a year ago, and it was a simple malicious message. It said, you have overdue deposits at the social insurance institution, the most known in Poland, and there was the link, like the first, the second object on the screen that said deposits as of the date, and it was a link to a tiny upload website. So, and there was a file, a Word document waiting for the victims. Well, the idea that somebody from the Social Security Insurance Institution could send a link to a tiny upload is absurd enough. But when you wanted to run this payload, when you wanted to run this Word file, it actually did not execute. There was an error in the exploitation process. The payload was there, but it could not be executed. This was one of the RTF exploits, one of the recent CVEs, but it didn't work. It didn't work. We tested on multiple systems, multiple Office versions. It did not run, and apparently the author of this attack realized they failed, and they removed the file from the server an hour later. So good news, nobody got infected. But this is interesting enough for me to write an article about how the criminals fail. And I want to laugh at them. I want my readers to be happy that they failed. So I wrote an article. And then fast forward a day, and a day later, my mother gets a message on her phone. Adam, are you ready? Well, this is strange. Probably an error, somebody made the mistake. I don't care. And then 5 minutes later, this is my private mailbox, starts looking like this. Somebody's answering messages I did not send. And the answers come in dozens a second. So this is like, I don't know what's happening. So after a few hours, the counter ticks at about 2,000. So I get 2,000 unsolicited messages. I don't know who's sending them and why. But finally, I get to the original message that was sent by the criminals who didn't like, apparently, my article a day earlier. And they sent another one, very similar to the previous one, this time pretending to be the largest Polish debt collection agency, saying you have some liabilities and the court bailiff will come and take matter in his hands. The text has a lot of typos, a lot of spelling errors, like really, really a lot. And of course, it links to a file on an external server, this time on some other upload server, and the file is a RAR archive with a pdf.exe file inside. So why I'm getting answers to that? Because they put my private email address in the reply to field. So a simple trick. They're sending from a fake mailbox using some spam services, and they put my reply address inside. So when people start answering that message, they address me, not the cyber criminals. So I get a unique opportunity to look at these answers now. But in the meantime, I get an SMS message saying, is Adam there? So they must have realized the previous attempt was failed because they reached my mother, not me. And they ask if I'm there. Okay, I'm there. I'm asking who's asking. And they say, you're friends from the Tor network. And I say, can you provide me with statistics, probably an interview? Because I'm a journalist, I'm interested in how it works. And they say, well, we'll send you the statistics via mail and probably we'll attach some anthrax to that. Well, nice joke. Well, I don't care. I'm not opening letters from strangers anyway. But it was about the reactions of the people who got that message and wrote back to me. So now to the reactions, because these are the most interesting. So I got almost 2,000 answers. About 100 of them were automated, but it was almost 1,900 real people who wrote me. So I read all those messages and classified them into 11 different categories. And the most prevalent one was, can you explain? This is a general approach half of the people had. And almost 1,000 messages I got with questions like, what is this about? Please explain. Can you provide an invoice number? Probably. Well, I don't understand. What's the debt? It was like a natural, real reaction people have when they are told you have a debt outstanding and you should pay it. And those people did not realize this is a malicious message. They were afraid by the debt collection agency, and they were wondering, well, who am I in debt to? And there was really like almost 1,000, so I just a few examples. Like, this is normal. This is normal for people who do not understand. They were targeted by the criminals who want to explain the situation. They got a message, they got frightened, they want to explain it. Then there was a second group, much smaller, which I call the question mark group. There was only 46 messages, but they were very similar. So some people answered their messages like that. Some put 1, some put 2, some put 3, some put 140. Well, I don't understand that fully. Well, how can you communicate like that in the internet? But apparently people can. Okay, no problem. This is not something bad. Well, they just wanted to get more information. They don't have time, so it's the way to address your sender. So this is my reaction when I saw these messages. Then there's a third group that I have an alternative name of missed opportunity, because they could not find the attachment. They wanted to find the attachment, but could not, and it was almost 15% of the people who got that message. If you look at that message, can you find the attachment yourself? It's not that simple. It's here. There was supposed to be a picture, but the picture did not load. They misspelled the address, so the picture did not load. So it was really a problem for the criminals. They could optimize the process because like 15% wanted to open the attachment, but could not find it in the message. So if you're sending a message like that, you should be more careful about the link they should be clicking. So people were saying like, there's no attachment, the attachment is missing, no attachment, what is this about? They really wanted to have an attachment to this message. They expected it to be there. They couldn't find it. And well, if things can get worse, and as you work, most of you, I guess, in security, you know things always can get worse. There's a group of people who wanted to run the attachments and found the attachment. And the attachment didn't work. Why it didn't work? Because they expected a PDF file, and it was a pdf.exe file, so it did work, but they didn't see it working. It worked in the background, and it was more than 11% of people who actually installed this malware on their computers and then complained that they cannot open the attachments, or the attachment doesn't open, or it doesn't work, or they wanted the attachment to be resent because they ran it and it didn't show the PDF file. And well, some asked if I can change the file format for them to be able to finally see the attachments. And they couldn't open the file I sent. And some of them even asked me to send it again and again and again, because they really wanted to see the details. This was a fake message, a poorly faked message, which was obviously fake, and they still wanted to know the details because they didn't realize they are victims of an attack. And they ran the malware on their computer and then complained it didn't work as they expected. So this was me looking at those messages. Well, can it get worse? You're working in IT security, you know it can get worse. So there were people who complained that their antivirus blocked that message. So you're doing a good job if you work in the AV industry, but people still have this tendency to go against your product because they want to read that message. And you prevent them from doing so. This was a little bit more than 2% of recipients. And the messages I got is, what's it all about? It says it's a virus. So they have an information on their screen, it's a virus, and they still don't understand it's a virus. So perhaps you should work more on communicating the fact that it's a virus. Or there's a virus warning and I can't open the file. They complain. They want a new file because they can't open the one that you're blocking. Please send us PDF because this one is recognized as a virus. Okay, so even if you already stop the malicious file on their computers and you tell them it's wrong, it's a virus, it's a danger, they still don't understand they are being victimized at the very moment. They don't get it. And it's quite a large population of people who are like, my antivirus doesn't like RAR files. Well, it happens. Well, it doesn't like the exe files properly inside, but it was deleted by my antivirus. Please resend. So this is normal people reacting to you, trying to stop them from getting infected. And this is the most famous cartoon saying that there's Dave human error in the right corner, in the left corner you've got firewalls, encryption, etc. But Dave will always win if he wants to win. I've got an example of one of my readers who got infected after she tried to run the file on her computer. It didn't work, so she transferred it to another computer where she didn't have the antivirus and ran it there. Because she wanted to run the file. So people don't understand what you're saying them when they get infected. And I don't know if you have Avast people in the room, but one of those messages came back to me with that classic Avast signature, this message is free of viruses. There was a link in this message leading directly to a virus file. So technically the communication is true, this message did not include a virus, it did include a link to the virus. So probably you should revise that message when you're attaching it to the message, to the mails. So this was me when seeing this message. There was also a group which pretended they reported me to me as a malware offer they expected to the authorities. And it was not insignificant, it was more than 5%. They were saying like, I reported you to the police, one more message and I report you, like a threat, or bad luck, I'm a lawyer and I reported you already. There were some of them that didn't address the police, they addressed the prosecutor's office, which is also a fine way to report crime in Poland. You can go both ways, it's up to you to choose. But actually, all of those messages arrived like in 3 or up to 4 hours after the initial spam. So I believe all of them were lies, because I know how it works, and it's technically unfeasible to report a cybercrime in Poland in 3 hours' time. So I think they all lied to the criminals. I don't know why. But what you should look at is what they were reporting, because they were not reporting malicious messages. They were reporting a fraud attempt. Because they didn't have a debt, so they expected that message to be a fraud attempt. They expected that somebody wanted to steal their money, telling them they owe someone. They did not see the virus, they did not see the link, they did not see the attachment. They thought it was a fraud attempt. So good, they identified something's wrong with the message, but the identification was wrong. They did not understand what was the aim of the attacker at all. So this is me seeing them when they say me, they reported me to the police. Some of the people actually understood what's happening, at least I assume they did, but still choose the wrong way to address it, because they wrote me, well, I see you are a hacker, but what's the sense of writing somebody, I see you are a hacker? Well, some people think it's a good idea, and some say, please send the files via traditional mail, I don't respond to other frauds. So this is an indication for the criminals. Somebody says, what a fool one has to be to send a virus and hope someone opens it. Well, my question is, what a fool someone has to be to write to the hacker and tell him that? Well, you're losing your time, they're not reading that at all. There was one expert who said, there's no sense in compressing PDF files. So he got a rare message with a PDF exe inside, and he's such an expert that he knows you should not compress PDF files, but he's not expert enough to see there's an exe extension afterwards. And one even wrote a message directly in English, which I didn't have to translate, thanks God. I had less work preparing the slides. Well, I don't know why, but he just decided to address me in English. So this is how I see those people. And of course, obviously, there was a group which wanted to tell me what they think about my attack. And there was like almost 6% of the recipients of the messages I got. Some of them were already in English, which is quite a surprise. Perhaps people watch a lot of movies in English and they prefer to swear in English because it's shorter, it's like more international, they feel more fancy when they swear in English. But my most favorite one is when the swears mix with the standard signature. I won't quote it so I don't get recorded swearing, but please read the last 2 lines. Yeah, so, well, people send messages like that and think it's professional. Well, they can. But there are some people who prefer to communicate in graphics. So they have folders of pictures like that. And I can imagine the guy sitting at his computer and clicking folder, responses, graphic, negative, fuck you. Yeah? So, and then there's a subfolder with animated GIFs. This is the one where I really love. I like the guy. Of course, there are people also who know there's GDPR. I love them, as we all do. There's not many of them, like 27 only. but the messages they sent were always around, please remove me from your debtors list because of GDPR. So it was not like, please remove my data because I don't want it to be processed. It was more like, probably I have some debts, but I want to invoke GDPR so I can get rid of them. So you have to delete me from your database, and you won't address me again, and you won't talk to me again. So say GDPR one more time, and I shoot you. As I mentioned, the message had a lot of spelling errors, like really, really a lot. And of course, there were people who had the opportunity to express themselves and their feeling towards the fact that I made so many errors. And they really wanted me to get better at my campaigns. And some of them even wrote, well, for such a professional company as a debt collection agency, you're making too many spelling mistakes. So this happens. Apparently, people care about the fact that other people are making spelling mistakes online. This is me seeing them saying that I made those mistakes. But the most surprising category, this is why I left it at the end, is the people who found the message totally irrelevant to their current financial situation. And there was 42 people who wrote two kinds of messages. One was, I've already paid. So these people really had debts and complained that they did pay. And why are we threatening them? Because they did pay their debts. And they wanted me to verify and check if I booked their payments correctly. So even if you don't totally target your campaign, because apparently looking at the results, it was not targeted at debtors at all, you can still reach people who will find the message as relevant. But this is like half of the problem. The other half is people who say, I want to pay my debts. I really do. So the message reached people who had debts, didn't pay them, and after reading it, they decided to pay. So it's like the criminals were acting as helpers to the agency to recover the debt, actually, because they wanted to pay. So the criminals actually obtained a positive effect on the economy because they persuaded some people to pay their debts, at least to contact the collection agency and to ask for an account number, for installments, etc. So no matter what they write in the message, they will still reach somebody who feels it's for him. It's very dedicated to his situation. So this is me looking at those answers. In the totality of answers, I found two positive things, two positive answers. These were two accountant ladies who wrote, I will not open the attachments, I don't do it. Well, the perfect answer would be not answering that message at all. But at least there are people who realize these are threats, who read the messages and analyze them and can react in the correct way we would expect our users to react. So actually, this is something worth applauding. But the message I found the best of them all is a letter written by a lawyer. So the recipient of the malicious message went to his lawyer, probably paid him some money, and they wrote a letter together, which is signed and stamped. And the letter says a lot of legal things, saying that the totally fake message is not correctly formed, and the criminals actually don't know the law, and they don't apply correct phrases and correct sentences. I wasn't even able to translate it because it's full of legal language, and I'm not that fluent with that part of English. So this is really like people get this malicious message, and instead of deleting it, they go to their lawyer and they pay him to prepare an answer. So this is the level of misunderstanding of what's actually happening in the world. So coming back to the statistics, you can see that like almost 70% was created by three types of answer, like can you explain me, and the attachment doesn't work, and where's the attachment? So these are people who totally didn't understand they are being attacked. And I don't know the number of messages that was sent out by the criminals. This is not available. But based on some previous campaigns, previous history, I assume it was like 20 to 50,000 probably. So the answer rate was somewhere between 2 and 5% what I got. But I really got those messages. So now, what do I do with those messages? Because I get them like 15 every minute. And I need to do something with that. I cannot leave these people without an answer. So I tried answering manually in the first minute, but after a minute I realized it's not the way, so I set up an auto answer in Gmail. And this is the message I sent to those people. I tried to be as brief as possible. I provided a link to a very detailed description of this attack I already put on my website. And I told them to contact an IT expert to either remove the malware or just reinstall the system as the simplest way to get rid of it. So imagine people were answering that message as well. Of course, they did. And some of the answers were a little bit surprising, which shows that they actually did not understand even me trying to explain them they were getting infected. And some of them were really like totally not understanding, then why are you sending this? This is the question I got. And I cannot explain to them more than I did already. So you've got people who have antivirus installed, they still get infected, then you send them a message they get infected and explain to them how to remove that message, and they still don't understand. Even if you personally intervened and tried to explain to them that they actually got infected. So it's not that easy. It's not that easy. It's me looking at those answers. Of course, there were people who thanked me for informing them what's happening. So it was quite a positive feeling that there are people who understand what I wrote to them, and probably I saved a few of them from getting infected or getting their money stolen afterwards. But now I wanted to show you a few reactions that we generally, as a security people, have for this case of incidents. I gathered reactions from my readers. I write on a security blog, and I get comments from my readers. I assume most of them are at least IT, or in a large part also IT security people, because who other would read those articles I write? So this is what people actually write under my articles, like, I'm waiting for another article. I'm describing an attack, and they say, it's a new attack, so I'm writing about it to warn people about it, so they can Google the attack and find out that it's an attack. And some people say, watery sweat. What's new in that? It's just another malicious spam. Some people say, why do people still fall for it? Well, it's been known for ages. Well, it's been known for ages, but for you, not for them. That's simple. And, well, some of them are even like, what's wrong with you people? Why are you clicking all those attachments? Well, it shows a deeper level of not understanding the human nature, not understanding the fact that the recipients of these messages are not IT people. They are not IT security people. They treat their computers as we treat our cars. I know there's an engine behind me, but I don't know how it works. I cannot repair it. It's too complicated now. And they treat their computers like we treat our cars. They just drive it, and they don't care. And we as IT security people don't understand them, because we live this life and we are inside, and we cannot understand how it happens that they still click those messages. Well, as long as we just don't understand it, I think it's fine. It shows some level of at least reflection. But there are people who believe the users are idiots. And they are saying then, like, you have to be an illiterate from the woods to click it. No, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can live in a big city, no problem, you can still click it. Some people say they are blind fools. No, they read the message, as I showed you. They read the message, but they still did not see it's an attack. If someone was born stupid, he won't die a genius. Yeah, it's true, but it's true about people putting such comments online also. And people are really idiots. Yes, that's true also regarding those people putting those comments, or stupid monkeys. Yeah, I like monkeys. Monkeys are fine. They are not stupid at all. They are just on their level. Then there's another kind of reactions which I really hate. Which is like, why should we protect them? They are worthless. They are just users like trash. You know? And this is written by people working in IT security. This is not something I invented. These are real direct quotes from people working in the industry. I don't want names. I don't want to blame those people by name. But I want to blame the whole industry for this kind of approach. Like, they deserve to be hacked. I don't pity them. Well, I do pity them. At least have some understanding that the criminals are earning money this way, and we should stop them from earning money, if not for saving the victims, then from preventing the criminals from making money. So let's look at the answers people give. How can we solve this phenomenon once and for all? Like, they should use their brains more than the antivirus. Well, perfect solution, but in order to use a brain, you should have one, says another expert. Well, excellent. You just solved the IT security problem. Yeah, bravo to you. And then people ask, did this app install themselves? No, these are humans, but humans are required to install apps. Humans are required, they get paid to open attachments. So now you expect them not to open attachments? I once had an incident in the company I worked in. An accountant opened an attachment. She opened an invoice. It's her job to opening the invoice. But she infected her computer 3rd time in the week. And my friend who went to address her tells her, but how could you open it? It's so obvious it's a virus. And she looks at him and says, if it's so obvious, why didn't you stop it? And that's a fair question, if it's so obvious. So it happens. And some say there should be a driving license equivalent for computers. Well, it's a good idea because, as you know, after we implemented the driving license requirement for people to drive cars, accident stops, yes? They did, yeah? No, not so exactly, you know? So this won't solve the issue. And one final solution, lobotomy. This is a real suggestion by an IT expert. How can we solve the user problem? Just kill them. That's simple. And we'll have a wonderful life with no problem in front of us. And this was a simple attack. A simple attack that people got fooled by a simple attack from time to time. And do you know this attack? Do you know what's wrong in this picture? You have a website that has a SSL certificate, an extended certificate with a company name. Everything seems fine. Fortunately, the criminals don't use it very often. The window inside is just drawn in JavaScript. This is an object inside the larger window. It has a certificate, it has a green lock. Fortunately, it was the only one attack I saw like that, because if criminals started using it, then all the education we put in our users will die immediately, because they see a green lock, they see the extended certificate, they see correct URL name. But this is a window inside a window. You can even move it, you can minimize it, you can maximize it. You cannot move outside the main window because it's driven inside the main window. But it's a simple attack. It's simple to implement. And let's hope criminals won't use it more often. Or which of you recognize this is not a direct link, this is open redirect, or actually two of them. This is a link criminals used a few weeks ago. These are two open redirects in one link, and the actual website they will land on is the last line of this link. So if you expect our users to understand the attacks, we should look at them from a different perspective. We shouldn't expect them understanding the attacks. If you look at this, they won't understand it never. Never. It will not happen. We will not be able to explain it to them how it works. So actually, this is the quote by the founder of the Haertlé project. I don't know if it was his original invention or there was someone before him, but I really liked it. People are not the weakest link, they are the attack vector. So if you change this mentality and don't treat them as the weakest link in our organization, but treat them as an attack vector that we should protect, and this is our responsibility to protect them, not their responsibility to react correctly to all those attacks, then I hope we will be able to actually change something and not just complain about how stupid they are. So this is my last slide. If you want to get in touch, want to talk about how to protect users, I'm open to messages. This is my Twitter handle, my email address. I try reading all the messages. You find me on all the social media. Feel free to get in touch. I'd be happy to talk about how can we solve that problem, because so far I have not seen a good solution. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Adam. That was fascinating.